Welcome to the one and only Team 2.
G'day guys, how we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, December the 8th, 2025. And as always, great to have you along. Busy weekend for boxing. We, of course, had the Jai Pattaya fight. We had the PBC fight, so let us know all about that. Whatever else you want to discuss. Of course, we've got Tim Tszyu next Wednesday night. So it's all happening. And then is it the Ring 6 on December 27th. So big few weeks for all boxing fans. If you're new to the channel, make sure you will firstly like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And more importantly, put your comment in the chat. And let's talk some boxing. Also, special shout out to everyone that downloads the episode on Spotify every week. And also lets me know if I forget to upload it. So yeah, they're great. I think we have sort of 50 or 60 people that download it the day after or whatever, a few days after that. So let's get on with the show. Now, I'm not even going to attempt to read it off my phone with the order, okay, guys, because it always gets messy. I'm always just looking at my phone, so I'm going to wing it. I'm going to go to the top of the comments. I'm not sure what order they're going to come in at the start, but let's go, because as I said, I'm sick of sort of looking at my phone trying to sort out the order. So apologies if your comments come out all over the place, but hopefully we can make some sense of it as we go. All right, Big J. I've got a feeling this is not your first comment, but we will start with it because it's at the top of my chat there. I'm not sure how it's coming up on your side. What do you got here, mate? Funny side note. According to the comments on my last Aussie Boxing Talk video, I've been made president of Oz Boxing. Is that right? Apparently, I'm that knowledgeable. Well, congratulations, Big J. Hats off to you, mate. Is that Oz Boxing, the website, or Oz Boxing in general, Australian boxing? Be a tough job trying to keep everyone happy in Australian boxing, wouldn't it? But you're that knowledgeable. Okay, well, there you go. Well, actually, I'm not sure I can do a poll on here, but let us know, guys. Is Big J the guy you'd like to have running Australian boxing, and is he that knowledgeable? So let us know in the chat. Might take me a while to get to it, but let us know your comments. Shadow Boxer, how are you there, mate? What do you think it is with Aussie boxers and leaky defence? Do we just not have that tier of trainers here? Sparring partner seems to be a consistent issue. Yeah, that's a really good question to start with there, Shadow Boxer. Probably a little bit of everything you've just said there. I think we have some really, really good trainers. I really do. Some very knowledgeable trainers. Trainers have had a lot of experience, been overseas in big fights. But have they? I suppose the question is, have they exposed themselves to American boxing, English boxing, whatever it might be? That's probably the question, I suppose. It's not cheap to get over and, obviously live in a gym overseas or whatever. And the luxury that the English gyms and especially the American gyms have is that they're all very, very close to each other most of the time, and you get all the sparring you need. And I think I said before in the trip that we had to Las Vegas a couple of months ago or whatever it was, that we went to 4 or 5 different gyms in the space of a week. Saw a lot of the same people there, but so much excellent sparring. You can walk in off the street and say, hey, let's go, and you're going to get it. At some of the gyms, where there was Kamal Moton, of course, there was Brian Mendoza was there, just training. Rolly Ramiro was at Mayweather's gym. They're just guys that just hang around, just train, and if someone wants to spar, they're happy to get in. That's the luxury they have. Doesn't necessarily explain the leaky defence question, though. It's a good question. I'm not sure, Shadow Boxer. I just think it might come down to maybe Aussie trainers being a little bit set in their ways. Maybe it's a little bit of everything. Maybe they haven't been exposed to the top tier overseas, and they are stuck in the way. So I don't know. Maybe our good fighters just get exposed when they get to the top level? But yeah, I don't know, mate. It's a very, very good question. Sparring might be something to do with it. But at the end of the day, even if you went over to America, even if your defense is not that great and you go over and get consistent quality sparring, well, and you haven't got a trainer to actually correct what's going on, you're going to consistently get beat up, I suppose, over there and not really know what's going wrong. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I do think that maybe a lot of our trainers here, shadow boxers, should maybe get over to England or America or maybe Europe somewhere and be a little bit more educated, because I have found a lot of trainers here are sort of living a little bit in fantasy land where they think they're good trainers and they think they're doing the right thing, but in essence, after having been over to those gyms over there, and they maybe don't know how much they don't know, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a good one to get us started anyway, mate. Still with shadow boxer, people saying Jai should have KO'd Sin Cara easier. Bad take. He came to fight, was actually awkward and cagier than people knew. Yeah, that's a good point too, shadow boxer. Look, if you watched Walking Boxing yesterday, it was yesterday in my review of the fight, I did say that Jai, you could tell, was a frustrated fighter, struggling for motivation, struggling to get up for the fight. But that doesn't take anything away from the fact that Sin Cara was very, very awkward. And I think that's what frustrated Jai a lot, because you see Jai just trying to walk him down, not really setting anything up. And I think that as he got hit more and more as the fight went on, and he got more frustrated and probably exposed himself a little bit more. And I got a feeling too that the almost knockdown in round number 1, wasn't it? I think when was it 1 or 2, whatever it was, he got nailed really early and almost went down. And it was almost like he didn't recover from that, because after that, I was like, all right, you've just embarrassed me in front of my home crowd. Now I'm going to knock you out. So maybe that had something to do with it as well, because after that, there was, as I said, there was no setting up punches. There was no trying to any sort of head movement. There was no maybe going to the body, coming up over the top. There was nothing. It was just, right, I'm going to knock you out. So a lot of things factored into it, I think, shadow boxer. But you are right. He did come to fight, was awkward and cagier than what a lot of people expected, and he's actually in a little bit of a bad way at the moment. So wishing him all the best, Hussein Sin Cara. Apparently, and I'll just read this. I'm sure some of you guys in there have commented on it already, on what's happened to him. Where did I see it? I think it was a quote. Where is it? I'll bring it up there if I can find it. No, it's not coming up now. Okay, I don't know why it's not coming up. After I just read it earlier today, no, it's not coming up. I don't know what's happened there. But apparently he has a fracture in his neck that's suspected. He has some sort of brain bleed as well. Apparently it's not serious, but it's enough to keep him in hospital for 2 or 3 days. So, yeah, wishing him all the best, because it's a dangerous sport sometimes. I think we sometimes forget how dangerous it actually is. And he put up a really good fight. Look, I think we all agree he was overmatched, but he did come to fight. He did give a great performance of him, or great showing for himself. And who knows, he might get another crack down the track. We've got a super chat there. Thanks to Ed Woodson. How are you there, mate? Thanks very much for the $10. Really appreciate it, mate. People saying Jai should have KO'd. Oh, sorry, hang on. I've just read the same thing. All right, there you go. Lynden salute. Thank you, Ed. I never catch your live streams. 2:05 a.m. here in Chicago. Wow. Just woke up on the couch, always supporting. Walking Boxing is a great video segment, as always. Thanks very much, Ed, and that's great to know that 2 o'clock in the morning over there, and you're watching all the way from Chicago. So thanks very much, mate. Really appreciate the $10, and also appreciate you watching Walking Boxing every day. And it's great to know that we have got a little bit of a reach outside of Australia, mate. So thanks again, and not sure if you're working in the morning, but you might need to get some sleep. All right, Sam Nixon, how are you there, Sam? Just wondering if there is... Oh, okay, this is the question here. Just wondering if there's any truth to Jai fracturing Sin Cara's neck. I've heard a few rumours of what a beast Jai is, and for Sin Cara hoping for a speedy recovery. Yeah, well, if you look at the way he actually got nailed, Sam, just the way, it was like a ricochet sort of effect, and I think when he actually hit the canvas as well, he might have banged his neck. Look, I wouldn't go so far as to say, I mean, Jai is obviously a beast, but I don't think it had overly much to do with the power. I think it was just the way it landed and the way he landed on the canvas. So, but I'm sure Jai would have, that would have scared the hell out of him like it would most fighters. But Jai didn't come out unscathed either. He had the fractured eye socket, so I'm not sure how long that's going to take him to recover from and how long he's going to be out for. The word is, what does he fight 3 times a year? The word is he mightn't be ready to go until maybe April, May next year, if not after that. So, hoping also Jai is okay. But but it is true there, Sam. There was a slight fracture of his neck apparently, and as I said, a brain bleed, just a small one as well, just enough to keep him in hospital. Apparently, he's conscious and speaking and all that sort of stuff, and he will be okay. But as I said, it does remind you of what a brutal sport this is when when you break it down sometimes. So we'll keep an eye on that, keep you updated. All right, Asbot, how are you there, mate? Hi, you're super excited to see Shakur Teo. I think Teo wins. Shakur is super talented, but so is Lopez when he's on his game. Plus carries big power. Just good to see top name square off for a change. I'm 100% with you there, Asbot. That's probably the underlying thing of the whole event. The fact that we have 2 guys who you could probably be forgiven of avoiding each other. The 2 superstars of the sport. They've both got massive fights outside of each other that they could probably take. Big money fights, big drawing fights, or probably not as much as against each other, but some big fights they could take instead of this one, and they've chosen to fight each other. So I really take my hat off to both of these guys because I must admit, all the talking up they've done over the last sort of 12 months, whatever it's been, probably less than that, whatever it's been. But I must admit, I doubt it would actually happen. I thought, yap it up, boys. I'm sick of this crap. Just, keep doing this, but it won't happen. And now that it's been signed for, I think it's January 31st. Yeah, really excited for it, Asbot. What do you got there? So you think Teo wins, okay? Shakur's super talented. Yeah, look, it's a tough one, Asbot. I'm still not convinced of either guy yet. And that is the real, excuse me. That is a real sign of a very, very good fight. I'm not going to go far as to call it a super fight, but it is a very, very good fight. And I think both guys are going to bring their A game. And again, don't expect Hagler Hearns. Don't expect anything like that. This is going to be a chess match. I did comment on this the other day. I think it's going to matter or come down to who takes center ring. Both of the guys like to be on the outside of the ring. Sometimes Teo will walk someone down, but most of the time he likes them to come to him from the outside and counter punch them. And Shakur Stevens we know does that as well. So yeah, it's a fascinating fight, Asbot. If you had to ask me right now who I think would win, maybe Teo. Super talented guy, but as you said there, so is Shakur. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I might have even said the other day, I think maybe Shakur might win. Look, I'm going to go back and forward. I'm going to flip-flop probably 10 times before they actually fight in the next sort of 6 weeks. So, but yeah, can't wait, mate. And the fact that we've got 2 superstars of the sport at the top of their game, agreeing to fight each other, hasn't been drawn out. So it's not a Spence and Crawford or anything of these type of fights. Pacquiao, Mayweather before that. This is obviously not big as that fight, but the fact we've got 2 guys at the peak is fantastic. So it should be great, mate. Big J, I think that Zerto fight, hang on, this is about Jai, of course. I think that the Zerto fight is that you're saying isn't as easy as everyone thinks it is. Jai needs to step it up if he wants to dominate the division. Also, if he's smart, he'll go to LA this week and challenge Badu Jack. Well, yeah, he might do that, Big J. It's a good point, actually. I'm sure he got a nice payday on the weekend. I think he did that last time, didn't he? He actually jumped on a plane and went to England. It might have been for the Ring Awards, or was that before that? I can't remember. But yeah, he's done it before. So, hey, it's only a 14-hour flight. I think flights are on special at the moment. He probably gets to LA for $7 or $8 grand business class. It's just a bit of pocket change for him. So I'm sure he could jump on the plane. I'm sure Mick Francis will probably pay for it, or someone will pay for it. But it's not a bad idea. Big J, what else did you say? Yeah, well, I'm with you. The Zerto fight is not easy at all. I'm certainly not saying it's easy. I'm not sure what everyone else out there is thinking as an opinion, but I've never thought it would be an easy fight. Zerto Ramirez is a tough guy. Mexicans don't lay down, especially at the elite level that he's at. So yeah, no, I think it'll be an extremely tough fight. I think it'll be as tough as the Breeders' fights or tougher. I really do. Look, I'm going to be honest, Big J. Up until this point, I've been staunch that Jai Patai will win, but I've got to admit, after the performance on the weekend, just instead of being about 70-30 or even 75-25 that I thought Jai would win easily, not easily, but I thought he would win comfortably, we'll say. Not an easy fight, but win comfortably on the scorecards, if that makes sense. I thought after the weekend that maybe it swung back to maybe 65-35 for Jai. Wasn't a great performance, but the good thing is that Jai knows it wasn't a great performance. He won't rest on his laurels. He'll be probably back in the ring at the end of this week or something, back amongst it and working on what went wrong on the weekend. He's that type of guy. He's probably back in the gym today, knowing the type of fighter that he is. So this will be playing on his mind. I've got no doubt, and he will be working on that. Yeah, and you're right. Of course, he needs to step it up if he wants to dominate the division. But if Benavides comes up and fights Zerdo and goes back down, really the only fight of any significance is still Jai and Zerdo. So it's going to be interesting if Zerdo wins, it makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it? That they'll fight for the belts. Maybe Jai can fight Badu Jack in the meantime, whatever. If Benavides wins, this is the question mark. If Benavides wins and says, yeah, look, I'm not interested in fighting Jai or whoever, or a rematch or Badu Jack, I'm going back down, what happens then? Does Jai then still push for a Zerdo fight? Those titles will probably be vacant, of course. He'll let them go. You'd think with the WBA and IBF that Zerdo will probably remain in the top two, so probably gets to fight for it again. Or what happens? Does Jai go, well, Zerdo lost. Is there really any real sense in hanging around to fight him? The interesting one, too, is he still wants to fight Billum Smith. Now, I was looking at the rankings today, and in the IBF, they haven't been updated, of course, but Shinkara is still number one. He'll drop out. But Chris Billum Smith is going to be the number one challenger. So that might be a fight they push for if they can't get Badu Jack, I would think. They've also got Masternak after that. Roman Frez, who I don't think would... Now, who's Roman Frez fighting? Is he fighting... Was he fighting? Maybe I've got that wrong. I thought he was fighting someone soon. Roman Frez. Can't remember. Not a lot of other fighters in that division. Nick is in there as well. He's obviously beaten him. Floyd Masson could be an option for a voluntary. Not a lot of other fighters in that division. So what happens? You're going to have, you'd think either Badu Jack or Noel Micheladian will be the champion. The wild card will be if Micheladian beats Badu Jack, and if he wants the smoke, as they say, and says, come on, Jai Pattaya. So lots of fascinating things to happen there, Big J, but at no stage do I think that that's an easy fight for Jai Pattaya. All right. Hayden, how are you there, Hayden? Did you end up watching Flemo Wiley replay? I was there in the stands. I thought Flemo put on a boxing clinic. I did watch it, Hayden. And to be honest with you, even though I just watched bits and pieces of the fight and then the highlight package at about 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night or Sunday morning, my view sort of didn't change on the way I thought the fight looked. I didn't really need the 10 rounds to sort of change what I saw with limited sort of viewing opportunities on the night. Look, I disagree somewhat, Hayden. I'm not saying I think a draw was a fair result, if I'm being honest. I can see how yourself and a lot of others saw Flemo putting on a boxing clinic, but also I can see the supporters of Wiley saying, well, yeah, he was boxing, but was he really effective? Jake was pushing the fight, landing the bigger shots. I mean, you can go back and forth, and that's why I think a draw is still an okay result. I thought Paul Fleming boxed beautifully, by the way. I thought he looked great, and I hope he hangs around. I hope he's back and gives this another shot. Give it another 2 or 3 years and see where he goes. Jake Wiley's still got plenty of time. He's on the up. But, again, it just depends on how you judge a fight. I mean, as I said, if you look at Paul Fleming as far as the boxing IQ and his boxing technique, he boxed beautifully. He really did. But then, as I said, you got the flip side of Jake Wiley being the one pushing the fight, throwing the harder punches, probably landing the harder punches. You've got that argument as well. And that's why I think, actually, I'll just check BoxRec and see whether the official scorecards are up, because I didn't have them on BoxRec the other day, and I can't remember what they actually said, to be honest. I'm not sure I even listened to the to the scorecards being read out. I'll just type his name in there and see whether it comes up. Paul Fleming. Where are we? Showtime. All right, so the scores. No, yeah, here they are. So, all right. Yeah. So one judge had it 97-93 for Fleming. So 7 rounds to 3. The other judge had it 10. This is Philip Holl. No, it was a ref. Paul Tapley had it 97-93 for Fleming. Chris Condon had it 100-90. He gave Jake Wiley every single round. And then the other judge, who I think probably got it right, Sabrina Kerr, I'm assuming it's a she, had it 95-95. That's the way I reckon it would have been for me, Hayden. But certainly not going to disagree with you, mate, because if you say Fleming won, I'm not going to argue. If someone says Jake Wiley won, I'm not going to argue. I thought it was that close. And again, it just depends on how you judge it. But to have it 10 rounds to 0, I would think that Chris Condon would have some explaining to do to the powers that be. Paul Tapley, okay, 7 rounds to 3 for Fleming. Thought it's still a bit one-sided for Fleming. But if Chris Condon had it maybe 7 rounds to 3 or 6 rounds to 4 for Wiley, you could sort of see where you're coming from. But one has it 7 rounds to 3 for one fighter, and the other one has it 10 rounds to 0 for the other fighter. A crazy night. But yeah, I hope he hangs around, Hayden, because I thought he boxed beautifully, mate. All right, still with Big J. Really looking forward to the Sky fight this weekend. Yes. An excellent chance for her excellent chance for her to prove herself worthy of world champion status. Shanika is up next week in her first undisputed defense. Well, that's actually another fight that I've completely forgot about, is the big Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua card, of which Shanika Johnson's fighting the main support. So what have we got? So we got Tim Tszyu next weekend. Then we've got the Jake Paul and no, hang on. When's Tim's. Yeah, what's the date today? The 8th. So it'll be not this coming Wednesday, the one after. Yes, that will be it. So then we've got on the weekend following that, we've got Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Fascinated to see what transpires in that fight. I really am. And then the ring number 6 at the end of December. Have I missed any? Probably. Now she's fighting, by the way, Sky Nicholson, Julian Luna Avila, who is 28-4. Now, the card is in Stockton, California. I was there a couple of years ago to see Jason Maloney beat Astrolabio. So we've got Diego Pacheco, Kevin Sajo for the couple of regional 168-pound titles. We've got Gabriel Flores Jr., Joe Cordina. That'll be a good fight. WBO regional title. Sky against Avila for the WBC interim super bantamweight title. Gee, she's got a title shot already, Big J, even though it's interim. Also on the card, Ernesto Mercado against Antonio Moran for the WBO international 140-pound title. There's some few good fights in there too. Arturo Popoca against Cesar Avaca Espinoza for the WBC Continental America's 122-pound title. So that is on DAZN, guys. So if you've got DAZN, check that out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pretty big. Well, I won't call them big fights, but 5. We got 3 10-rounders and 2 12-rounders on there, plus a couple of undercard fights as well. So yeah, it should be good, Big J. I'm not sure. I'm just going to have a quick look and see if I've seen her fight before, her opponent. I don't think I have. No, I thought I might have seen her live one other time. I've definitely seen her face before, so I'm sure I've seen her fight. So yeah, it should be good, Big J, and good on Sky for having a crack and taking on a pretty good opponent who looks like she's very experienced. She's had 33 fights, and coming off 3 wins in a row. So yeah, it should be good. Good question, Tony. Is Shanika Johnson representing New Zealand or Australia? Well, this is the question, Tony. This I don't know. What is this the new trend of fighters not only representing Australia but representing whatever heritage they might come from? Now, Shanika Johnson apparently was born in New Zealand, so I'll give her that. But she was raised in Australia, fought for Australia, lived in Australia pretty much her whole life. But her parents are Kiwi. I don't know, Tony. Well, she should be representing Australia because Australia's pretty much given her everything that she's got at the moment, opportunities and backing and all that sort of stuff. So I would hope Australia. I'm all for fighters representing the heritage in some way. I'm not sure if anyone's brought it up yet, but the Jai Patai one on the weekend with the Samoan national anthem. I don't want to rain on anyone's parade or insult people or races or heritage or whatever it might be. But I don't know. I'm all for Jai with the dancers and the outfit. That's his heritage. But he's born here, raised here, has represented Australia. Maybe if you're going to come out, just have the one flag. Am I crossing the line here, guys? Let me know. I don't think, we see it with George Kambosos. It's probably a little bit different with someone like Connor Wallace because he's made no secret that he's an Irishman who just fights out of Australia because of, obviously likes his gym and teammates and his trainers up there at Fortitude. So I get that he's an Irishman fighting in Australia. So he comes out representing Ireland, but also paying homage to the Australia that's welcomed him and give him a lot of opportunities as well. So that's okay. But when you're actually an Australian just with some heritage, I'm not sure whether you should be come out with a flag, all that sort of stuff, both flags, whatever it might be, but to have the actual national anthem of the country of your heritage, I don't get. Same as George, with the Greek national anthem. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Look, the thing is, I'm pretty sure fighters like Oscar De La Hoya would obviously, we might have the Mexican flag on the trunks or might wear Mexican colors, but I'm pretty sure he always fought under the American banner and played the American anthem, not the Mexican anthem as well, if that makes sense. I'm going to stop right now because in this day and age, this is how you get yourself cancelled, so I'll just shut up. But let me know your thoughts. No, I'm not going to actually shut up. I'm not going to back away. That's my thoughts. Like it or not, but give me your comments there anyway and let me know what you think. All right, I'll move on because I'm way, way, way behind. All right, no, it's Eminem. How are you there, mate? Sorry, your comment looks like it's out of order here, but I'll run with it. Also thought Jai was more off balance than rocked/hurt when he got hit with those couple of shots in the second. Was it the second, was it? Okay, hopefully the broken eye socket doesn't cause him grief for what's to come. Yeah, well, I think he's going to be okay, Eminem. From what I saw on the weekend from Mick Francis, it's going to probably set him back maybe 6 to 8 weeks as far as his next fight goes. But this is a guy that fights, on average of sort of every 4 months. So it might just set him back to, what is it now? So instead of fighting in maybe March or April, he fights in sort of May or June, something like that. But I'm sure he'll be fine. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not so sure he was off balance. I've looked at it again today, Eminem. He was just caught. He got caught flush, not really prepared for it. It wasn't a shot. I agree that he wasn't rocked or hurt. That was a given. He was just unsuspecting, got nailed, and he tried to sort of straighten himself up and got hit again, and that's what sort of caused him to stagger back. So it was just one of those things. He just got caught flush, being unaware, and but he wasn't rocked or hurt. I agree. All right, this is probably your first comment, Big J, that's muddled here, but says, hey, mate, I think a few red flags have been raised concerning Jai's performance. Got caught again in the second and took 8 rounds to dispose of someone he could have easily done in 4. Look, the last comment there, or the last line of your question or your statement there, Big J, I don't necessarily agree with. You just can't, even though a fighter might be a couple of levels below you, you just can't walk out and blow them out. It doesn't work that way. I've seen it, and I've been in that position myself, where you have someone that by rights shouldn't really be in the ring with you, and as I said, by rights you should be able to get out of there, but it just doesn't work that way. He was rough and tough and awkward. He really negated Jai a lot as well. So yeah, I don't subscribe to your last comment there about he should have easily got him out of there in 4. I actually thought after the first couple of rounds that this was going the distance. And I was actually surprised that Jai ended up getting out of there and did it in that fashion. But yeah, just because someone is levels below you doesn't mean you just go automatically going to blow them away. I've seen guys, because they are so awkward and a bit gangly with the arms and legs and a little bit unorthodox, and going a little bit of survival mode as well. You just can't go out there and blow him out. And you saw what happened to Jai in the second round second round, whatever it was, when he probably did get a little bit excited. He got caught. The red flags, yeah, I'm with you. The inability to sort of, I suppose, reset and reload when he was a little bit frustrated early in the fight. I don't think his trainer or / his dad was overly impressed with him not really listening to what he was trying to say to Jai either. I think Jai got a little bit stubborn, a little bit pig-headed, and was just in destruct mode after being hit early or wobbled early. So that's the red flag, was that, as I said, he wasn't able to just go back to his corner, take a breath, have a drink, reset, and say, okay, this is not going to be easy, so I'm going to have to get back to basics. He got a little bit emotional for me, Jai, and that's one thing he's going to have to get out of his game, because those really good guys like Ramirez and Benavides, and especially if he goes to heavyweight, you're not going to be able to make those mistakes and get nailed and sort of walk away. So, yeah, that is a red flag. And you're right, just the inability to sort of cope with someone that was awkward and a little bit in survival mode as well, and unorthodox, was a little bit of concern too, that Jai wasn't able to deal with that type of fighter. Most of the fighters that Jai's been in with, Breedis was probably the closest one to, say, a Shinkara that I've seen. A lot better fighter than Shinkara, but same, that European style. I think just Jai just struggled with that type of fighter. So that is a red flag. But when you say red flags, I wouldn't go as far as to say they're serious red flags. They're just red flags that he's going to have to address, that they can work on in camp. I thought his defense was okay, apart from early when he got nailed. Apart from that, he wasn't too bad. But I put it down to just being frustrated, being a little bit lackluster, a little bit unmotivated, and just really struggled to get into the fight. But he did what he had to do in the end, knocked him out cold. So that's a massive tick for Jai. But yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of it there, but certainly not as far as he should have got him out of there in 4 rounds. A quick story for you. I remember I come back from the Olympic Games in '96, and the Nationals were coming up. And I don't want to make this all about me, by the way, but I'm just going to give you a quick example. Come back from Atlanta, and the Australian titles were coming up, so I wanted to get a fight in before the Nationals. I fought a guy that I'd sparred numerous times, but by your definition there, should not have been in the ring. It was a C-level type of fighter, but he was tough. He was just rugged. He'd have a go, but very, very limited. And you could hit him over the head with a crowbar, and he'd just keep coming at that type of guy that he was. And that's the type of guy I was expecting. I thought, oh, well, he's going to come at me. I'll just sort of, box and move and get in some 3 nice, easy rounds and be fine-tuned for the Australian titles that year. And he got in there and went the opposite. He went into a mode where he barely threw a punch and just would not engage and just ran away for 3 rounds. I had to chase this guy around the ring. Looked appalling in the fight, by the way. I was so pissed off with my performance, to take the words from Jai Pataya, and I really struggled. I mean, I won every round, but I really struggled through every single round just to catch up with this guy and adjust. And I was really down on myself, but it was actually a bit of a wake up call for the Australian titles, sort of about 3 or 4 weeks later. So that's on a smaller scale to this, but it's a similar type of thing. And that's what I said. Don't just think because you've got a fighter that's below you as far as levels go that it's just going to be easy, because it's not. It's not. Anyway, that's enough about that. All right. Big J, I'll take great pride in the presidency of Oz Boxing, that is, and rule with an iron fist. I'll be like no other dictator. All hail your old mate, Big J. Oh, geez. I could just imagine. Maybe you should get Tassie Brown to be your vice president there, mate. We'd have some fireworks, and the Oz Boxing would be on fire, wouldn't it? I'm not sure Tassie'd want to be a vice president, though. I think he'd want to be the El Presidente, I would think. What have we got? So Eminem, a lot of fights happening this weekend. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, John Manu, Sky, Karayev, Niyeko, Badu Jack, to name a few. Yeah, let us know, though. So John Manu's in, I've mentioned Sky. Now, I think John Manu is in Melbourne, isn't he? On a, what card? I think it might be Joe Demicoli, I reckon. There he is there. I'll just have a quick look at that event. So he's fighting Alan Villanueva, who's 13-9. So you would expect him to beat, Manu to beat Villanueva. Villanueva is the way you pronounce it. So apologies about that. I'll let that load up there because for some reason going a bit slow tonight. But yeah, it should be good, Eminem. And I'm not sure. I didn't know Kadav or Niika were fighting this week, Eminem. So thanks for that. I'll be sure to look them up and see where I can watch them fight. Still with Eminem. Also, Jai damn near paralysed the bloke with one punch. Yeah, crazy. Fractures neck and a brain bleed. I hope Shinkara's okay. Yeah, I think he's going to be all right, Eminem. But, yeah, he's going to be out for a long time, I would think, and that's if he comes back at all. So, yeah, the main thing is if he walks away, you know, with all his faculties intact and he's healthy, that's all that matters. If he fights again, well, whatever. I would think, though, with a fractured neck and a brain bleed, that might be the end of his career, I would think, Eminem. I would strongly doubt that they would allow him to come back after a brain bleed and a fractured neck. But we'll see. Modern medicine is a wonderful thing. All right, so just back on that card. So John Manu, as I said, fighting Alan Villanueva. I'm not familiar with any other fighters on that card, but if you want to go to it, it's at the Melbourne Pavilion this Saturday night, December the 13th, and that is Joe Demicoli from Ultimate Promotion. So go and support that. He's a good guy, Joe, and doing some great things down in Melbourne. All right, Drew. Let's have a drink here. All right. Oh, hang on. What have we got here? Sorry, I missed a comment there, Eminem. Oh, hang on. We've got a couple there. Sorry about that. A couple of comments I'll get to. I'm with you on your take of the Jai fight. Fought like an uninspired fighter, which is probably understandable with that opponent and expectations. Yep, that's what I think there too, mate. Still with Eminem, at what point does Jai Apatone need to do what Tim has done and get a new team, or doesn't he? That's not going to happen, Eminem, unless what happens to Tim happens to Jai, I would think. And look, I've got full respect to Tapu, I think it is, Opatai's dad. Great guy. Very, very good trainer. I don't know his credentials, if I'm being honest, Eminem, apart from training Jai and a couple of others as well. But I've got a feeling if Jai, as I said, had the same thing happen to him, then the questions would have to be asked. Because I do agree that Jai has maybe some of the same flaws that Tim has. But he hasn't shown those flaws in the past. So let's just put it down to one of those nights, okay? A little bit lazy, a little bit uninspired, didn't move his head enough, didn't set up his punches, and Tapper will get him into the gym this week and say, right, if you're going to beat these top-level guys, this is what you need to do. So don't write off his team just yet. Give them a chance. I know Tim made the decision, but Jai so far hasn't put a foot wrong. Now, I know the question could be, well, how are we going to know until he actually fights a top-level guy? We don't know. But that's the fact of the matter. We don't know. But I've got full faith in Jai's team, and let's hope they can work on a few of those things that he got wrong over the weekend, and I'm sure he will. But good question, though, Eminem. I like it. All right, Drew, I can't help but think that Team Opatai have made a mistake parting ways with Eddie Hearn. They're already having enough problems securing the big fights, fighting here on stand minus overseas eyes. Eddie still is involved, Drew, but only on a minor level. So he's still part of the management and promotional team of Jai Pataya. I had this conversation with Mick Francis about a month or so ago. And look, I'm not sure I should talk out of school here, but not overly impressed that Eddie wasn't coming to watch Jai fight. I know it was in Monte Carlo, whatever it was. But I would have thought this fight in Australia would have been bigger than that fight. But anyway, he obviously saw the need to be, was it Monte Carlo or Monaco? Whatever, probably the same place, I don't know. But they haven't parted ways, Drew, but Eddie is the minor promoter, or the whatever you might call it. But Mick is the main guy. But Mick's not silly. He knows he needs Eddie Hearn and these other guys that are involved. Who's the guy? Spencer, whatever his name is, Spencer Brown. I know that he knows he needs all those guys, or else they're going to be shut out. The stand thing is an interesting one for me. I know talking to Mick, I know that why they left DAZN, and DAZN, like a lot of the broadcasters, probably they'll put you on the network, but you got to pay all expenses, and it's not cheap to have, say, a DAZN level production. It would cost a fortune. It really would. And if they don't chip in for it, it's bloody tough. And maybe the split of the pay-per-view money and all the rest of it might not have been up to speed either. Because sometimes what those broadcasters will do is say, well, you pay the production, but you might get 70% of the pay-per-view, and someone like DAZN might even get 30%. Normally it's 50-50, but I have heard of instances in the past where if the promoter is out of pocket for X amount of things for production or anything to do with the broadcast, they might give them a little bit better split of the pay-per-view money. So I'm not sure what Stan's done for Mick and Tasman fighters, but I'm with you. To have it on UFC Fight Pass overseas, not the best way to expose Jai to the rest of the world, I will admit. Even here in Australia, I don't know many people that have Stan. I don't know, well, no, even less that actually got Stan on to watch the fight. I will say too, just quickly before I get even further behind, I didn't mind the telecast. Rob Scheif, I mean, is it Scheif or Schiff? I think it's Rob Scheif. Schiff, whatever. Rob from before the fight. Good guy. He's trying his best. He's got a long way to go. I think he would be the first one to say that. But I really think he's improved a lot since. I think he's done a few other shows. Might have even been on DAZN, some of those other shows. I think he was actually pretty good on the weekend. And you can almost, I don't know, but you can tell he's been working a lot on the way he speaks, the way he projects, the excitement levels, all that sort of stuff. I thought he did a pretty good job. Ted Coffey, always really knowledgeable. And I really liked Danny Green on the broadcast as well. I really thought he brought a lot as well. He's probably got to get a little bit of the Aussie larrikin sort of slang out the way, you know, boys and lads and all this sort of stuff, but that's the way he talks, so good on him. But no, I thought he was a really good addition to the team. I thought the three of them worked really well together, so I wasn't that upset about the whole broadcast. I thought the stream was good. Everything was good about the telecast. The big challenge is that Stan is down the pecking order as far as the sort of priorities of boxing fans out there. I mean, everyone's now got to have Netflix because there's going to be some big fights at Netflix. Everyone's obviously got DAZN. Now Amazon Prime are doing shows. The Paramount are doing shows. So Stan is a little bit way down the list. But if Stan decide to actually add some of these promoters, and this is the opportunity, by the way, again, for maybe the Will Tomlinsons and those types of guys who have really struggled to get onto the main platforms. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to get attached to Stan, and maybe they can build a bit of a stable of promoters here in Australia and maybe New Zealand, wherever it might. Actually, is it in New Zealand? I don't know, but yeah. So by itself in isolation, I'm not sure it works, Drew. I'll be honest with Jai on Stan, but. And the UFC Fight Pass, they've got to do something about that. And that was one good thing about DAZN. Internationally, anyone could get it. That's what I didn't like. The American people over there, so how do we get it? You know, a lot of boxing fans aren't UFC fans, so they don't have UFC Fight Pass. But they had to do something. So at least Mick delivered something, but they need to get the setup a little bit better because having Stan and UFC Fight Pass, I don't think is going to be the right way to go down the track. But I'm sure it was just a temporary thing. I'm sure Mick will work with whoever he needs to work with. I'm hoping that, again, I don't want to get further behind, but I'm hoping that Mick sits down with Eddie Hearn and maybe Turkey Al-Sheikh and DAZN and gets back on DAZN and works out a better deal. That's what I hope. Because with DAZN now, or main event, well, you may as well just rename it No Limit. That's all they do. That's all they're interested in is No Limit, and that's fine, which I still strongly disagree with, by the way, having one network and one promoter. Surely Australia's got enough good promoters to get a spot on main event. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But I'm really hoping that Mick sits down with those guys and works out a deal with DAZN and gets back with DAZN. He needs to be there to build the fighters. All fight fans now have probably got DAZN. They might piss and moan about it, like we all do about the extra fees. And then next year, I think, or it might have even started now, with the pay-per-view thing, and you got to pay X amount and you get all the pay-per-views and see how long that lasts before they start charging as extra on top of the yearly fee that's supposed to cover pay-per-views. But I think that's going to be a better go. Someone like Jai Patai needs to be on a worldwide platform, not just a small platform that only Australians can see. Anyway, that's my 2 cents anyway. I'll move on. Glenn, president of Australian Boxing. Yeah, right. He says of Big J. All right, speaking of him, what do we got? Speaking of that Fleming Wiley fight, 100 to 90, 97, 93, 95 apiece is disgraceful. What fight were those judges watching? Well, they were obviously watching the same fight, just from different angles of the ring. And maybe that's what it came down to. But as I said earlier, Big J, I would think that there'd be a little bit of explaining to do from all those judges. I think the one that got it right was probably the 95 apiece. But anyway, and even with that 97-95, you've got it 7 rounds to 3. But if one round goes to Wiley at 6-4, and no one will be arguing about that, the big one is 100 to 90, 10 rounds to 0. How can a judge give Wiley every single round? It is just nuts. Anyway, thanks, Tony. Yeah, I think I answered that, mate. No, I still would lean towards Jake Wiley, but I think a draw was a fair result. Just my take, mate. What's that? My mates and I spoke about last. Hang on. Oh, okay, good stuff, Sam. My mate I spoke about last week is up and about, but still needs surgery. Well, all the best to him, Sam. Hope he's on the mend, mate. Thanks for keeping us up to date. There's bacon and eggs. How are you there, bacon and eggs? I'm not sure you've been on the show for a couple of weeks, have you? But great to have you back there, mate. All right, speaking of Glenn, what do you got there, mate? Evening all agreed regarding Jai's win. Uninterested and showed in his performance, but hid what a finish. But like me and some idiot YouTuber with aspirations of being president. I'll let you and Big J sort that out there, Glenn. Well, maybe Batman will come on tonight and give you someone else to clash with, mate. But sounds like you're in a bit of a combative mood. It's great to have you on the show anyway, mate. All right, Adam, with your 2 cents there, I'll let you sort it out with him. All right, Drew, it's easy to get caught up in recency bias, but I must admit I would prefer to see him ply his trade in the cruiserweight division for longer before moving up to heavyweight. He might need to tweak a few things first. Well, the president of Australian boxing has been saying this for however long, Big J, that he should stay at the cruiserweight division. He's not ready for heavyweight. Maybe he had a point. I think, and I'll admit I was one of them. I was like, well, forget the cruiserweight division, move up. Don't worry about the Benavides and Zerto if they don't want to fight. Just move up. On the weekend, I must admit, I'm just sort of reconsidering, is he actually ready? It's a question to be asked. But I'm with you there, Drew. You're only as good as your last fight. I'm putting it down to the reasons we've already discussed about why it was a pretty subpar performance from Jai. But let's face it, when's the last time he had a subpar performance? He's been up for a long, long time. Even those fights that he was, meant to win easy. He's been up from the Sequoios and not so much in the Eka because a lot of people actually gave him the Eka a chance. And I think Jai was, he took that personally on the night. But all those guys before that, the Jordan Thompson, all those types of guys, he didn't skip a beat with those guys. This is his first subpar performance that I think I've seen from Jai in his whole career. So let's not hang him out to dry for it. He just needs a challenge. He really does. And I hope he gets that one challenge. I'm hoping if he doesn't fight Benavides or Zerto or even Badu Jack, that Billum Smith steps up, grows a set, and maybe he fights Jai. I've got a feeling that would be the fight that would really get Jai up and about. He doesn't like Billum Smith, and I think he would even love to do it in England. So, although they are talking stadium fights here, all that sort of stuff, but I would love Jai to go to England and take on Billum Smith. That would be pretty. I think that you talk about him getting up for a fight. That's the fight he would get up for. Don't worry about that. All right. I was waiting for this one. Tony, Terramona really needs an opponent who can help him showcase his fighting/boxing skills. Consistently fighting fellas who hit the canvas before round 2 must be so damn frustrating for Terramona Jr. Yeah, well, look, this is probably the one real criticism I had of the card, Tony. I said this in my review yesterday. Why bother? Why bother even turning up to fight? He should have just sparred Justice Honey or Dempsey McKean or someone. Just an absolute waste of time fighting these guys. I know it's probably hard to get guys to come to Australia to fight Terramona. Long way to come. They probably want big money to come out here, but he did fight in America, didn't he? And still fought a spud. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know whether was he 9-0. He's had 9 fights and fought 11 rounds. So he's had 7 first-round knockouts and 2 second-round knockouts. He, in my opinion, he's learned nothing in all 9 fights. So that's my call on anyway. And again, I know they're probably just trying to bring him along slowly, but I just don't think he's learning anything by just blowing these guys out. And the problem is, Tony, is that as soon as he does step up to someone who's just remotely competitive, he's going to get a real shock because he used to just go out and bombing these guys out. And this is the problem when you have all these easy beats. You get someone that comes back, you all of a sudden you're not really quite prepared. Physically, you're always prepared, just mentally. And you might get caught. Anything can sort of happen. So, look, he's in good hands with Gareth Williams. Really good trainer is Gareth. So I'm sure he'll be fine. But if I was Terramona and his team, I'd be saying to Mick and Eddie, whoever it might be, hey, you know, I need some sort of fight here where I can get some rounds. Easier said than done because, as I said, it's hard to get people to come out here. But put him on a show in England or Saudi Arabia, somewhere. Let's get him a test and get him some rounds. Because so far, I see a lot of flaws there too, by the way, Tony. He's not a perfect fighter by any means. And I just hope he doesn't get in there with someone that can actually bang or has got some skill and mentally he's not ready for it and maybe slips up on a banana peel and gets beaten. That's what I don't want. But having 9 fights of the quality of guys he's fought, it's I don't think it does him any good whatsoever. So all it does is get him paid. So there's Richard in the chat. How are you there, Richard? I gave him $1. How are you there, mate? Have they seen something inspiring with Terramona so they don't think he's ready? Possibly, mate, but how could he not be ready so far? I mean, it's one I do get, actually, having said that sometimes they'll match you accordingly, so you can work on different things and get some rounds on your belt. But when they do that, they get fighters in. I know it's heavyweights are a little bit different, but sometimes what they'll do is they'll give you a beatable opponent, but they're a journeyman. You know, back in the day, talk about heavyweights back in the day, you know, the Quick Tillises of the world, those types of guys didn't win a lot of fights, but they would always go 10 rounds. They'd always be in there. I mean, James Quick Tillis was the first guy to take Mike Tyson 10 rounds, bowling over everybody. And he gave Mike a lot of problems. Barely won a round, but gave him a lot of problems. They're the type of guys that you need. And there's plenty of them out there. There really is. But the fighters they've got so far, as soon as I've seen them even just shape up, it's like, oh my God, here we go. This fight's going to last 30 seconds. And most of the time they do. So, yeah, maybe they see some stuff in sparring Terramona, but, I gave him $1, but keep him in the gym then. What's the use of putting him in there and just having first round knockout after first round knockout? I'm pretty sure he's won his last 6 fights by first round knockout. What are you gaining? You're gaining nothing. So, yeah, I just think there's guys out there that he could get 5, 6, 7 rounds under his belt and still get a win. Guys that aren't a real threat to beat him, but are going to be there to hang around and just give him some rounds. So, Mick, if you're watching, you know, there you go. All right, Richard. What's that? G'day, Lynden All. Thanks, mate. Jai with a great finish, but quite sloppy for his standards. Terramona Jr. needs a better opponent. Yep, he might as well fight the former Storm player. Yeah, well, you would have seen my video the other day. I got no idea who that guy is, and I think someone actually commented on there. I can't remember. I don't know whether they were having a go at me or just a general comment about, well, you know, I don't sit around all day on the computer wondering whether the main event worthy. Well, that wasn't my point. What I'm saying is this where we're at, where we've got all the bells and whistles. I don't sit around the computer all day just waiting for announcements, by the way. But what I'm saying is that the notification comes up, big announcement from No Limit. I'm thinking, all right, Liam Wilson, Sam Goodman, Tim Zhu, whoever it might be, and we got a rugby player. And I do agree. All the news for boxing in a positive light's great. But is this where we're at? I mean, in the past, we've had fight cards headlined by rugby league players or being on the card to sell pay-per-views. And I get you need to sell tickets and pay-per-views. I understand it. But is this where we're at, where rugby players are actually generating or being worthy of having a press conference and a live stream on main event? I'm still going to stick by my comment. I think it's weird, and I think it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Good on him. I'm sure he's apparently a good fighter. He's got a lot to offer, a lot of fans, all that sort of stuff. But you know, we always say about even guys like Jai, you know, they can't really get their foot in, and then we've got a main event live stream on a rugby player. I know it comes down to No Limit, by the way. I know they can just click their fingers and main event will turn up and pretty much put anything on. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me to have a press conference and a live stream of a rugby player going into boxing. But anyway. All right, Drew. If Tim Zhu wins next week, what do you think of Tim versus Lubin next as the ultimate crossroads fight? It would definitely be career curtains for the loser. Thank God Tim didn't fight Ortiz. I'm with you on that one, Drew. Although I don't think Ortiz would have done the job that Murtazaliev did on him. But Tim versus Lubin, I don't think Tim's even ready for Lubin next, Drew. I know Lubin got blown out in what was it, a couple of rounds, whatever it was, wasn't it? But I don't know. I think after this one, Tim needs another type of guy that he's fighting next. Is it Hernandez? Velasquez, sorry. Velasquez that he's fighting next week. He needs another fighter like that, in my opinion, next. Maybe in sort of March or something like that. Get him back in, and then maybe June, July, or something. They can look at someone like Lubin, and then a bigger fight to end the year. But I got a feeling they'll keep Tim very active. I think it's going to be the best way of practicing the things he's been teaching, being taught in the gym, and being able to keep active at the same time. Get the confidence up, obviously get paid as well. Get back in the good graces of the fans, all that sort of stuff, and the broadcasters and networks, all that sort of stuff. But I would think, one more fight for him, Drew, and then maybe look to fight Lubin, as I said, June, July, or something next year. Glenn, I'd let Jai, is that a word? Ruminate? Is that a word? At cruiserweights. I think you mean to stay at cruiserweight, I'll say, for a couple of years. Let him collect belts and make a move up to heavyweight at 32. Good age to put on 20 to 30 pounds. He'll still make heavyweights look slow. Yeah, it's not a bad idea, Glenn. The only thing is obviously Jai's going to need challenges. So I would think, I'm in full agreement with you, by the way, but I would think that if the Billum Smiths and Zerdos and Benavides and Badu Jacks don't want to fight Jai, or not that they don't want to fight Jai, it's just they have other better options, which is why I've been supportive of Benavides and Ramirez, because it's just a bigger fight for both guys, especially Ramirez. So I understand it. But that's what it depends on for me. Your theory there is 100% right, mate. 32 is probably a really good age to move up. He'll probably get a good 5, 6, 7 years out of his career at heavyweight, so that's fine. A little bit like Usyk has done. And you're right, good time to put on that weight and do it properly and still have the speed of hand and foot. But again, it just comes back to the opponents. And look, it mightn't even be the opponents, actually. It just might be if the champions are ready to step up. So if Michelanian beats Badu Jack and wants to fight, hey, he's a no-name, but if I was Jai, hey, let's take the WBC strap. If Zerdo loses and Benavides gives up the belts and he has to fight the likes of, who are the actual top contenders of those belts? Leonardo Moscow, is it? Moscow is the number one challenger for the WBA. Don't know who that is. And Leonard Perez. So they would fight. And Roman Frez and Umar Salamov. Is Roman Frez the one who's going to fight early in the year, Zerdo? I think. Anyway. But they're the big names at the cruiserweight divisions who would fight for those belts. So maybe Jai would say, all right, well, as long as I'm fighting someone for the belt, I don't care who it is, whether it's Zerdo or Roman Frez, whoever. I just want to fight for the belt. If that takes 2 years, then I'll stay. That probably makes more sense. What's that, Richard? Deep fried Chicago pizza. They have pretty good pizza. They have the deep pan, I think, don't they, in Chicago, where it's like an inch thick and you get it in a little pan. Is that right? I think. Anyway, had some friends that went there and showed me some pictures of it. Tony, copying a blow to the neck area is very dangerous. RIP Phil Hughes, Australian cricketer. Yeah. Is that what happened to him, Tony? Yeah, I remember he got struck in the neck, but I didn't know that's what happened. Yeah, that was tragic. And I think a young kid a few weeks ago that happened to as well, which is, absolutely tragic. Oh, is that a fact? What's that? Bullseyed wombat or womprat, is it? One of the rounds is only 2 minutes long. Are there any consequences when that happens? That's the first time I've actually heard of that, man. I didn't even realise when I watched the replay. Good question. Nah, probably not. Well, I think what was the rounds when Shannon O'Connell fought the Kiwi girl? I think 2 of the rounds were actually 3 minutes long and they're supposed to be 2. But I've never really seen this before, although it was one of Liam Paro's rounds 2 minutes? I can't remember. Unless anything controversial happens there, Bullseye, I doubt anything will happen. I think they would probably have a talking to the timekeeper, but unless, as I said, something happens, not so much when it's only 2 minutes long, unless one of the fighters is down and hurt and in trouble and the bell goes after 2 minutes, then you'd say the shit hit the fan. But yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure, but that's the first time I've heard of it, that mentioned, mate. So thanks for that. Ado, as a boxing fan, I don't understand how the sport can grow when its product is behind a plethora of paywalls week in and week out. Yeah, why isn't it made more accessible to the sporting public? Well, it's a good point, Ado, but unfortunately, mate, this is the way of the world now. And now we've seen HBO and Showtime step away, and all the free-to-air stations have all stepped away. They haven't done anything in Australia for a long, long time. I think the way the world going forward, Ado, is that everything is going to cost money. We see it already. I think football, basketball, I'm talking NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, all those sports are all behind paywalls. Now that DAZN has taken over Foxtel, does AFL and NRL follow? Or basically, I suppose they are on a, well, not NRL and AFL, are they? They're still on those free-to-air channels, but I would not be surprised at all going forward if those two codes are behind paywalls as well. I think it's just the way of the world, mate. I don't like it, but that's the way it's going to be. I think eventually, and I've heard it's happening already actually with something like Foxtel, where a lot of people are saying, yeah, you know what, stick your monthly subscription and having all those channels I've got to get. Now I'm just going to get Netflix and I'm just going to get Paramount. I'm just going to get DAZN, and people are just picking the apps they've got now. KO is probably one if you want the Australian sports or international sports, I suppose, isn't it? Without all the movies and lifestyle channels and all that sort of stuff that you pay for. So I got a feeling down the track, we're going to be a world of apps, mate. I reckon that's what's going to happen. Apps that are available on your TV, but you're going to pick and choose the ones you want. They're all going to compete with each other. So this will come down to the apps, but if you want football, basketball, boxing, movies, whatever it might be, you're going to have to pay for them individually. That's the way I see it anyway. We even see it now with the free-to-air channels themselves, really just reality TV and news. That's all they really show these days, don't they? You don't really see any TV series anymore. They don't put any money in the series anymore, which is probably the main thing. They haven't got the money to put into them anymore, which is why all the big series go to the streaming sites because they pump the money in. Make sure you watch Landman, by the way, guys. I mentioned it the other day on my Walking Boxing. What a show. I think four shows into season number 2. Unbelievable. So check it out, Landman. Billy Bob Thornton. But I reckon that's the way we're going to go, mate. And I agree with you, what you say there. But unfortunately, get used to it, mate, because it's going to get worse. There'll be no boxing at all, in my opinion, soon, unless you pay for it. But that's just the way. And we're almost there anyway, aren't we? There's no boxing on free-to-air anymore. Even the No Limit on Fox Nights they have. Technically, I mean, you are still paying behind a paywall, aren't you? Because you're paying for Foxtel. I wouldn't be surprised if they go by the wayside soon. You're just going to pay per show. Anyway, we will see, mate. Drew. A huge danger for Jai is that his skills, mindset in his fights and technique don't regress due to a lack of motivation fighting too many filler fights. He just needs a big fight, as we all know. Yeah, well, that seems to be the general consensus there, Drew, is that he needs a big fight. He's had, 3 sort of this year. I mean, Niika was a little bit different because that actually generated a bit of hype, I thought, the Niika fight. I think a lot of people are actually pretty excited about that, and he was up for it. I think I was there that night. Great atmosphere in the venue and everything. The Sequoia fight really would have been hard for Jai. Now this one would have been probably just as hard. So he just needs a big fight, mate. As soon as he gets it, if he gets a Billum Smith or a Badu Jack, one of those guys, I've got no doubt we'll see the Jai that we've seen in his previous few fights. So I'm not getting worried about it. All right, Glenn. Talking Teo versus Shakur. I think Teo tends to rise to the level of his competition. He'll be bigger, and I'm leaning to him. Yeah, that's what I said to Glenn. I think I'll just lean to Teo for now, being the bigger guy as well. Shakur's only had a couple of fights at lightweight. I think, has he? Maybe a few more. I can't remember. But I was really impressed by Shakur in the Zepeda fight. But Zepeda doesn't fight anywhere near like Teofimo Lopez. So it's going to be a fascinating fight. And again, I'll reiterate, absolutely wrapped that we've got 2 guys in their prime going head-to-head. Should be fantastic. I've got a super chat from Andy. How are you there, mate? I'll bring it up there. $10. Thank you very much, mate. People need to chill a bit on Jai's performance. Shinkara came better than expected, but still went to sleep. Is that for God's sake? I think that means FGS. Fleming beat Wiley, in my opinion. Was a very enjoyable card. Yeah, it was. It was a good card, Andy. Apart from the Terramona fight, which I've talked about, I think it was a great card. I'll try and get back to the comments there. All right. All right, here we go. What do we got? Hilton Kyle. Oh, Kyle Hilton, I'm assuming your name is. Welcome to the show, Kyle. Thanks for tuning in. Anyone know whose coaching's a rougher for the Nikita fight? Where's he training? Who's he been sparring? Well, it's a complicated one, Kyle, because Nonito Donaire is apparently the trainer when he wants to be, I think. And then you've got Glenn Rushton, who tends to be the fight night trainer when Nonito Donaire is not there. Now, I don't think Nonito's actually been to Australia, has he? Or maybe he has. And Glenn, so it's a complicated one. Good question anyway, Kyle, because Michael keeps saying that Nonito Donaire is his trainer, but I haven't seen him in his corner in any of his Aussie fights. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then you got Glenn Rushton, who probably doesn't spend one round with Michael, again, correct me if I'm wrong, in the lead up to the fight and just goes in the corner on fight night. Not a real conducive partnership, if you ask me, or a setup, if you ask me. Michael just tends to bounce and change and everything else. I'm assuming it's going to be Nonito Donaire, Kyle. But whether Nonito wants to come to Australia, he doesn't seem to be high on coming out here. So Michael must go to him. Oh, I'm not sure. But yeah, well, Glenn Rushton's been in his corner for his last couple, so maybe it'll be him. I don't know. But anything's possible, mate. But yeah, apparently Nonito is Michael's official trainer. So what's that, Ed? The Chicago pizza, all right from some places, but largely overrated in others. Oh, Richard, I reckon Jai could fill Rod Laver Arena for sure. Oh, I'm going to reluctantly disagree with you there, Richard. I'm not sure he can. Rod Laver seats 15,000 people. I'm not sure he could do it, Richard. I hope I'm wrong. I think I know the comment will probably come that, well, George Cambosis did it, so Jai should be able to do it. I don't think so. George is a very, very marketable guy. He had a lot of backing from a lot of very influential people that helped with the promotion, put up a lot of money to put it, firstly at Marvel Stadium. They had a lot of big players that got that fight off the ground, Richard. I'm not sure Jai is going to generate the same amount of publicity. I've got no doubt the public and the media would get behind Jai, but whether or not they would fill Rod Laver and get 15,000, I doubt it. As I said, I really hope I'm wrong. Even if it was Ramirez, I mean, they're going to have to market Ramirez. People in Australia, unless you're a hardcore fight fans, aren't going to know who Ramirez is. It was easy when Haney came over for George Cambosis because all they had to market it as is this loudmouth Yank coming over that was looking to take our Aussie's title. That's how they marketed it. And the Aussie fight fans jumped on, how these bloody Yanks coming over. That used to work so well with Jeff Fennick. These loudmouth Yanks trying to take our boy's title. That's how they marketed it. Pacquiao, of course, is Pacquiao against Horn. I'm not so sure. And maybe the fact that Jai is very openly Samoan, maybe that might, with a lot of Aussie fight fans, might go, well, mate, you're not really flying the Aussie flag here, so we're not really going to support it. You're not really the Aussie guy. You know what I mean? I mean, people think in different ways. All I'm saying is, Richard, I doubt it. I doubt he can fill a 15,000-seat arena, but hope he gets the opportunity to give it a crack anyway, mate. Glenn, was it Jai versus Zerdo is pretty easy for Jai. Just watch Zerdo versus Bivol, and it's going to be pretty much like that. Yeah, well, Jai does fight a lot like Bivol, doesn't he? Just tell you what, Bivol and Jai would be a great fight too, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's a good point there, Glenn. Really good example. So, guys, if you haven't seen it, if you didn't know, by the way, Bivol was the only loss. Actually, I think he's the only loss on Benavides' record, isn't he? Sorry, not Benavides, Ramirez. I'll just double check that so I don't look like an idiot, but I'm pretty sure that was his only loss. No, he had one other loss, didn't he? I think. Where is it? All right. Yeah, 48-1, 30 KOs is Ramirez. That fight took place in 2022, so 3 years ago, and it was it was in Abu Dhabi, that fight. Yep, and pretty one-sided scores. 9 rounds to 3 times 2 and 10 rounds to 2 on the other one. All right. I didn't even know. Was that after the Canelo fight? I thought it was before the Canelo fight. There you go. It was the fight after that. Anyway, Drew. Yeah, Shakur versus T.O. is a purest wet dream. I edge the advantage to Shakur. I think he's a touch more polished. There you go. So there's... Well, I'll stay out of it. I did say T.O., but I'll be the neutral guy. We've got Glenn, I think, had T.O., and you've got... I think it was Glenn, whoever it was, had T.O., and you've got Shakur. That's the type of fight we're going to have, guys. It's going to be 50-50, I reckon. Never thought I'd say this, but I agree with Big J. What's that? Show up to the Badu. Show up to the Badu Jack fight. Get proactive, get seen, get in the damn ring and demand the winner. Yep, there you go. Good call, Shadow Boxer. Good stuff, Ed. Great to have you along there, mate. All right, 8-0. Second fight in the row. Jai has been buzzed early. A little concerning. Sure, he went on to demolish his opposition both times, but against better fighters may not be as forgiving. Yeah, that's what I said earlier, 8-0. It is the risk that he... I forgot that he's actually been rocked in his last fight too. Against a pretty average type of fighter. Yeah, again, I'll just put it down to being complacent. We didn't see him rocked against someone like Breedis or Nyika. Breedis, again, I know people say, well, he was over the hill, blah, blah, blah. But no, still an elite fighter, Breedis was. And of course, he broke his jaw. But apart from that, he had a few moments late in both fights. But I thought Jai probably won 9, if not 10 out of those 12 rounds against Breedis twice. So, and he wasn't buzzed by Breedis in either of those fights. I know, different styles, power of punches, all that sort of stuff. But no, I'm not that stressed about it yet. If he does come up against someone that's half decent that happens against, okay, we might have some concerns. But again, I'll just say, I just think it just comes down to just not being mentally into the fight. Where are we? Eminem. Whose KO deserves Aussie KO of the year? Andrew Hunt over Fathy or Jais over Shinkara? I'm going to go with Andrew Hunt, Eminem. That different types of knockouts. I know it was just a one punch and all over, but Andrew Hunt, like Fathy, like froze in time. He just stopped, like he didn't exist, and just fell flat in his face, like he was like the life had just left his body, and you could almost see his spirit sort of looking over him saying, get up, Fathy. Jai over Shinkara, it was great punch. Went down hard, but I'm going to go for Andrew Hunt over Fathy, mate, if I've got to pick one or the other. All right, Cal Jane Hartman. Sorry, Big J, but that be a no. You self-promote a lot. It's not appealing. It's desperate, mate. Ooh, okay. Actually, Big J, what you should do, don't do it on a Monday. Do yourself a live like this and just have it out with all these people. I want to see that. I want to see a talking boxing type of show with Big J in the hot seat and everyone throwing comments at him. You can you can have these arguments all night, Big J. You can sit there for 3 or 4 hours if you want to, mate. I will give you the tip, though. Speaking non-stop for 2 hours isn't easy. But if you want to give it a shot, mate, I'll maybe set you up in how you do it like this. I know you do it on the phone. Can you at least turn it that way? Put it on landscape, Big J, not like this, okay? It doesn't. All you got to do is this, okay? There, I'm in the reflection there. You see that? So all you got to do is that, Big J, not that. That's my first tip. But I would love to see Big J in the hot seat taking your call. Maybe actually I'll get him on here one night. I'll just be the referee in between, and you guys can throw everything you want at Big J, and he can retaliate and back up his claims. And we can't all be straight shooters either, guys. I mean, we're all a little bit different. I get criticised sometimes because I'm not controversial and just speak a bit too straight down the line. We need guys like Big J in there, so don't be too hard on him. He's a big guy anyway, and a big boy. He can handle himself, but I wouldn't mind seeing him on here, actually having it out with some of you guys and girls, and you can let him have it, as he says, between the eyes, and see if he can come back at you. I hope, Big J, you're still watching, by the way, mate. We'd love to have you on the show. All right. Maybe Jai was playing possum, making the other belt holders thinking Jai is easy work. Tongue-in-cheek, of course, might work, though. Yeah, it is tongue-in-cheek there, Ryan. I see that, but... yeah, obviously the sport is too risky to do anything like that. I just think, again, he just wasn't into the fight. And, he lost a couple of rounds by doing it. All right, Drew, I'm starting to feel like Benavides beats everyone at cruiserweight. The guy is on an absolute tear. If Jai got caught versus David, he might not get let off the hook. Go, Jai. Yeah, look, I'll be honest, Drew. This is even before the weekend's fights. I think maybe I might contradict myself here. I don't know. But my thoughts are, and especially after the weekend's fight, even though Benavides is coming up from light heavyweight, I would still probably back him at the moment if the two fought. The big question, of course, though, is can Benavides carry the weight? He's a killer at 168, a killer at 175. Can he be a killer at 200 pounds? That's a big step up. That's 25 pounds. What's that, 12 kilos? That's a lot of weight. So that's my only doubt. But head-to-head, I'm with you there that if he did catch Jai, that it could be sort of lights out. And Benavides has looked really good recently. He really has. So maybe that's the fight that he needs. I really wish that if Benavides had been coming up, he was going for Jai, not for Ramirez. But I also get why he wants Ramirez, the all-Mexican thing, Cinco de Mayo. I get that. Bigger payday, bigger drawing fight, all that sort of stuff. But I'm with you there, that if Benavides decides to stay at cruiserweight, that would be tough work for Jai. But again, how does he carry the weight? We'll see. Is that Ryan? Jai might have the Tim Tszyu bug, yeah. It's at Eminem. Apparently, Jai and his team have signed the fight for the WBC belt no matter the winner this weekend. I still think Michelanian gets it done. Badu may be past it. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him either, Eminem, that Michelanian gets the job done. I read the article, Eminem, if it's the one you're referring to, where Mick Francis did say something about that Turkey, was it Turkey, I think, or whatever is lined up the WBC belt next. Maybe that is the case. I sort of read it as that's what they were aiming for, and maybe it was a verbal agreement or something like that. I'm not sure it was actually locked in, but let's hope it is. And look, it would make sense, wouldn't it? When you think about it, that as soon as the Zerto and Badu Jack fight got signed, you would think that they would have went into overdrive by saying, right, we want Badu Jack next, or Michelanian, whoever it is, whoever wins that fight. That is the fight that's next. We're fighting a month or so apart, not even that, a week apart. So it makes sense to fight, say, in May or June or whatever it might be. And then the timing is then perfect for the winner of whoever wins that fight and Jai against the winner of Benavides and Ramirez. So who knows? The stars might all align. At the end of 2026, we're going to have an undisputed cruiserweight title fight. Let's see. Ryan, offense is the best defense at the top level. That doesn't work. Yeah, I was just going to say, mate, I'm not sure I agree with that. But anyway, yeah, unless you're a freak like Tyson. I know Tyson had great movement, but was all aggression in his wins, generally speaking. Yeah. And the thing is, though, Ryan, you're right. I mean, the offense was his best defense, but he also, you watch Mike early in his career, he had great defense. He really, I know what you're talking about there. Offense is the best defense, all the rest of it. But watch Mike Tyson early in his career with Kevin Rooney. After Kevin Rooney left, it all went out the window. Just come back to, right, I'm just going to try and club you out of there. Before that, look at all the drills that Mike used to do with his head, the slipping, the weaving under the thing going sort of back and forth. A lot of it in sparring. A lot of it was just defensive work, not throwing a punch, hands up, bobbing, weaving, getting in position, but not actually throwing. So there was a lot of emphasis on it back then. And you never really saw Mike get nailed a lot. The big coincidence, of course, is though, as soon as Kevin Rooney left, or was not really left, he was booted. Look at Mike's fights after that, especially the Buster Douglas fight, which I think was the first fight after Kevin Rooney left. And we saw the shape he turned up in, mentally, physically, no defense whatsoever, just tried to bomb me out of there. And a really good all-round fighter in Buster Douglas. I know had the fight of his life, but was a very, very technically proficient fighter. Very skilled he was when he was at his best, Buster Douglas. But mainly the aggression got him across the line. But it was aggression, but with skill involved too, Ryan. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't work at the top level with just being offensive because you're gonna get knocked out. That's just one way it goes. It's as simple as that. All right. Shadow a boxer. I feel like Kathy Freeman made the two flags kind of cool. Then again, they both represent the same country. Yeah, the Aboriginal and Australian flags is a different ball game, Shadow Boxer, because they're both Australia. the Aboriginal guys, while they are representing their heritage, it's still an Australian heritage. So that's different. I'm talking about two separate countries. Although these days, well, even around the world, it seems like we're divided down the middle now, aren't we? But yeah, I really like it. Like even Paul Fleming on the weekend, I know, did he only come out with the Aboriginal flag? I think. I'm not sure. But I got no dramas with that at all. Australian, Aboriginal flags, whether you got both of them or one of them, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about two separate countries. I just don't think it's a good look. But anyway. Big J. Oh, there you go. I'm actually a little sick of Jai and George with the two anthems and flags. You don't see the Zoo boys bringing out the Russian flags or anthem, and those boys have more claim to do that than anybody. I'm with you, Big J. Yeah, good point. Great example. You know, they're proud of their Russian heritage, but they don't play up on it. Or play it up. They don't. They just, you know. And I know for a fact both boys outside with their relatives and stuff speak Russian to them. But they're proud Aussies with a Russian heritage. That's the difference. They're not saying, well, we're just Russian Australians. They're Australian guys with a Russian heritage, and they don't back away from the Russian heritage, but they certainly don't rub it in people's face and get Aussies offside, because these boys are Australian. Listen to them talk. The way they've been brought up, they live like Aussie kids. Well, they're men now, but that's a whole different ball game. But yeah, I'm with you there, Big J. What's that, Ed? Thanks for being so truthful. It's great. Yeah, no worries at all, mate. That's the way we roll on this channel. All right, Jack. It's the problem with multiculturalism. People don't forget their heritage, and a country loses identity because it's just a mishmash of everything. Yeah. Look, the thing is, Jack, and I'm sure everyone agrees, Australia was built on multiculturalism and religion, all that sort of stuff, and that's great. But we're still Australian. You know, it's okay to recognise your heritage, but you are Australian. Anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, because it always ends one way with people getting triggered and bent out of shape and offended, all that sort of stuff. So anyway. Jack also says, I agree that I eventually got sick of the over-the-top Samoan stuff at the fight night. Go back to Samoa if you're so proud of it. Yeah, it's one thing to be proud of it, Jack, but why aren't we proud of Australia? I don't know. I can't speak for Jai. Obviously, he's proud of his heritage, wants to represent the heritage, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you are first and foremost an Australian. Honour your mum and dad. I think it's actually more of his dad, isn't it? I think his mum might be Aussie. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if they are Samoan or whatever, or from other countries, that's great. You can honour it to a certain point. But at the end of the day, you are Australian. You are an Australian person and fighter who happens to have, in this case, a Samoan heritage. That's great. If Mick wants to put on the dances so everyone feels all warm and fuzzy, and you want to have the flag on your trunk and someone walks out with a flag, but as long as that Australian flag is front and centre, that's the main thing for me. And whether it's Jai or whether it's George Kambosos or whoever it might be, the Zoos, just honour Australia first and foremost, okay? That's probably the main thing I want to see. Walk out with the Australian flag, and if you want to have the other flag sort of represented by someone else, that's great. But the Australian flag and everything is first and foremost in everything that you do. That's all I'm saying. I mean, God, geez, he represented Australia at the Olympics as a 17-year-old, you know, as an Australian. You know, I'm not trying to piss on any other heritage or countries, but you're an Aussie. You know, as I said before, like with Oscar De La Hoya, I mean, he's proud of his Mexican heritage, but he's an American. I'm a little bit afraid to read the comments here, but hey, speaking of other YouTubers, there's D-Style Boxing. How's it going, Lynden? Very good, thanks, mate. And hello to you too. I'm not quite sure what time it is in, where are you? El Paso, I think you are, aren't you? So I hope you're doing well over there, mate. I shudder to think what time in the morning is over there. But guys, I know I say it every week, make sure you follow D-Style. Does great things, and very, very active again too, D-Style, which I love, mate. Great to have you back and doing, you know, shows sort of every sort of second day. I think it's great, mate, because I know you took a bit of time off, but great to have you back and doing your thing there, mate. All right. D-Style, let us know what you think, mate. What do you think about, now that you've entered the chat, what do you think about, I know over America it's the same as here, and I know you have a heritage as well. What do you think about if someone, as I said, like an Oscar De La Hoya, okay? If he walked out with the Mexican flag and really played on that. How does that play out? Because as I said, I would see him as an American fighter with Mexican heritage, but he's first and foremost an American, but just with Mexican heritage. Is that the way you see it, or do you see him as a Mexican who just happens to be born and raised in America? Let me know. A different perspective from America. Anyway, I better get going, but no, because I'm way behind. All right, I think I'm there. All right, here we go. Jack, again, media won't get behind Jai because he sounds like a psycho. He just got out of jail when he talks, and there's nothing engaging, funny, or interesting about his personality of these shows. Anyway, hey, mate, even though I laugh, it's not a bad point. And the thing is, Jack, if you ever met Jai, and I've met him numerous times, actually promoted him once as well, he's the nicest, most down-to-earth guy you will ever meet. And he's actually very shy, actually. So if you went up to him and he'd shake your hand and say good day, but he'd be very, withdrawn a little bit. He's not the most outgoing guy. But you're right. I mean, when he talks in the media, it's like the interviewers sort of holding the microphone out and just sort of standing back. They're all a little bit afraid of him and what he's going to say. Yeah, maybe he needs, and I know it works for him a little bit, but maybe his dad or someone just needs to say, hey, John, mate, just when you do the interviews, can you at least, just before you get interviewed, maybe just have a Snickers bar and just relax a little bit, whatever it might be, listen to Samoan music or whatever it might be, and just relax, mate. They're not the enemy, okay? All they're doing is asking you questions so they can let the fans know what's going on through your head. So I know, by the way, too, and I've seen it firsthand, I was up there for his fight with Nieka early in the year, the line of people waiting for interviews. I get that he gets a bit pissed off. I understand that. But maybe what they've got to do with Jai in that situation, say, hey, look, we're only going to do a couple of interviews. All the YouTubers and other influencers, whatever they are, sorry, we're not going to speak to you. We're going to speak to someone like Australian Boxing Central, speak to Main Event, or not Main Event, but DAZN or Stan, whatever it might be. Just pick 2 or 3, and that's it. And I think as an interviewer, if I was doing it, and that was said to me, I'd quite understand. Especially fight week. They get really flustered. They get pissed off. They get frustrated with the whole thing. They're over interviews. So the last thing you want is a line of about 10 people waiting to interview. Because when you get to that last one, I would have shuddered to think, or I would hate to be that last person anyway, with the microphone in hand in the 10th one down the track. So that's what I would probably do to mitigate it just a little bit. Do the ones that you have to do. Just don't say you'll be interviewed by anyone and everyone. I think maybe have a chat with Mick Francis and say, hey, look, we'll fulfill our obligations with the main people that we have to, but all the YouTubers and all those sort of stuff, mate, we can't do it. We're not going to do it. Either that or do a group session where you stand in front of everyone, you have everyone around. I know they have done this a lot in other stages, but don't do single interviews. So, all right, guys, I'm going to give you 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to stand there, fire questions at me, and that's it. Do that, okay? That's what I would suggest of Jai, because you're right. He does come across sometimes as a little grumpy, doesn't he? So, Glenn, how do the zoos have more right than anyone else? And how does a second flag upset anyone? I don't think it's, it doesn't upset anyone. I just want to see, look, I'm a proud Aussie, Glenn, like I'm sure you are and everyone else is out there. I got no dramas, as I said, with the heritage thing, representing your heritage, but you are an Australian, okay? I want to see the Australian flag first and foremost there. And everything else revolves around that, okay? If someone like Jai was born in Samoa and raised in Australia, okay, well, you probably got an argument there. It doesn't upset anyone, but does it? I get a little offended as an Australian, a proud Australian, that an Australian fighter, no matter their heritage, is not giving the Australian flag and country and the people that have supported him all throughout, I think, the respect that we deserve. And as I said to D-Style, maybe you can comment as well from an American point of view, with whether it be Puerto Rican or Mexican or whatever it might be. Let us know. And I don't think Big J said the zoos have more right than anyone else. He just pointed out that they don't do it. So, because they're Australian. Proud of the Russian heritage, I'm sure, but first and foremost, they are Australian. So I don't think anyone's getting upset, Glenn, but I think people are quite entitled to ask or raise the point why Australia is not being represented first and foremost. That's all we're saying. Tony. All right, looks like we're on the conversation here. Regards to flags, couldn't agree more with Big J. And you have the last son, in my opinion, seeing as you protected us for 10 years. Yeah, well, if you didn't know, Big J not represented, but was part of the Australian Army. So hats off to Big J for putting his balls on the line and putting his, I suppose, balls where his mouth is. Does that make sense? Sorry, Big J. I didn't mean it to come out that way, but you get where I'm saying. He has every right to have his say on the country because he represented or fought for this country. So he has a little bit more, what do you call it, right? Morals, whatever it might be, than some of us. All right, Big Bang. Take away the reach of Jai. He got nothing. You'll see when he comes up against some European fighters. Well, there you go. I'm thinking you're not an Aussie there, Big Bang, but that's cool, mate. That's fine. Yeah, that's not a bad way to look at it. I don't think he's got a long reach, though, has he, Big Bang? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Shinkara had the longer arms and was slightly taller. Yeah, European fighters might actually be a little bit of his kryptonite, though, Big Bang, because he has struggled with the stand straight upright and the hands nice and high. So maybe you're onto something there. Ryan, Jai's been nailed a few times recently. Bit of a concern. Has defensive brain, fades. Yep. Also gets lazy with the jab. Thinks he paused too much with. Yeah, I think he paused too much. Excuse me. Sorry. Ryan. Yeah, I'm probably in agreement there, Ryan. I was actually, when I was watching him yesterday, it was when I watched the fight. You are right. He has his hands here, but he either moves the head, but his hands don't move, or he moves his hands and his head doesn't move. He doesn't sort of do both. Does that make sense? So he doesn't sort of do this. He'll either do this or this. So sorry you can't see that on Spotify if you listen later, but yeah, he doesn't move his head and hands at the same time. He either moves his hands without his head or his head without his hands. And that did stand out to me a little bit. And I agree, he does get lazy with his jab and can be counted over the top. So all things I'm sure the team are working on, and I'm sure he'll be fine. All right, Jules. Evening all. Has anyone mentioned the fact that Jai's cheekbone was visibly depressed after the right hand that rocked him? Yep, didn't take a backward step. Not many fight through that unaffected. Yeah, well, you wouldn't have even known he was injured, Jules. I know he obviously had the mark under his eye. Actually, I will comment on that as well. Again, watching the replay, I didn't see them actually put the end swell on it or ice or anything on it. They were doing his eyes and stuff, but they were just sort of wiping a bit of Vaseline on it. Well, I don't know why they didn't have ice on it as soon as it happened. Really weird to me. There's Ed, got a crash. Work at 10 for a 12-hour shift. Ooh, a car detailer and part-time mechanic. Hours are crazy. Salute to you, chat, and to you, Lynden. Thanks very much, Ed Woodson. Have an awesome night, mate. Thanks for, or morning over there. Thanks for tuning in. Fighting with a broken jaw. Everyone needs to relax on Jai. He knows what he's doing. The bloke is an animal, says Adam. Yep, tend to agree, Adam. Jules says Jai fought noticeably angry. Don't blame him given the politics of the sport sidelining his career. He doesn't fight angry when he gets that unification shot. Yeah, I think I'm with you there, mate. This hasn't even come up yet, D-Style. I'm surprised. Off topic, but Mauricio Suleiman is a crook. I did watch a video about that the other day, D-Style. Made some great points there, mate. So, yeah, if you didn't see that, guys, Terence Crawford with the rant about the WBC. I was a little bit neutral of the whole thing. I could see both sides of the story. But if you want the Terence Crawford side of things, go watch D-Style on his subject of the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman. Yeah, Shadowboxer, we be crooks. What was the other one someone said the other day, D-Style? It was something to do with something about Canelo. What was it? Something Canelo? Anyway. All right. I'll get back on track here. Take a drink. All right. Pound for pound. Thanks for joining the chat there, mate. Big J. The Zoo boys' parents were both born and raised in Russia, as Jai's father was the only one born in Samoa. George's parents are both Australian, only his grandfather is Greek. Is that right? That makes it even weirder, Big J. I thought because Jim is as Greek as they come. So he's actually born in Australia too. Well, that's even, is it worse, Big J? You're taking the, I understand Greek heritage and want to play on the Spartan warrior type of thing. I get that. But geez, we're playing Greek national anthems because your grandfather was Greek? Come on now. We're pushing it. Anyway. I'll move on there. Big bang. All right. Jai's defense shit open for shots, but got to get inside without him popping you off. Yes. What's that? Proud of the heritage. What's the problem with that? No one said there's a problem with it, Glenn. They're proud of the heritage. And that's, again, no one said they have a problem with showing the heritage. What we're all saying is that, especially in Jai's case and George's case and the Zoo's case, yes, they're proud of their heritage, but they are Australian. Born and raised in Australia. So they are Australian, Glenn. That's the point. No one has a problem with it. Well, I suppose we do have a problem. Not the problem that they're proud of their heritage. It's a problem that they're not putting Australia first and foremost. That's the point, Glenn. Enough of that. We'll move on. What's that? Seen Sugar Neats come out with a New Zealand flag? She never used to, Tony. I promoted her first 9 or 10 fights. Never once come out with a New Zealand flag. Ever. It was all Australian. So I don't know where this has suddenly come from. Again, she was born in New Zealand, by the way. So she'd probably have some grounds to have a Kiwi flag. That's fine. But have the Aussie flag there as well. That's all I'm saying. All right. Jack. Lots of Euro heavyweights who have similar styles to Shinkara, plus they are bigger and hit harder. Jai's a lot to work on. Also, I think he might be getting Tim Tszyu syndrome. Well, can happen. Yeah, Richard, you've got a point there. Waving the Aussie flag is offensive these days. Yep, you go to some schools, and I've seen it myself. The Indigenous flag or the Aboriginal flag, the Pride flag, the what's the one? The islands, Torres Strait Islands. You see every flag there apart from the Australian flag. We don't want to get political on here, but what are we coming to in this country when there's not an Australian flag in every bloody classroom? I don't. And council chambers, anything like that. That is just bullshit. I've got an Australian flag out the front of my house, and I'll wave that flag proudly. And I mean, it comes from being over to America so many times. They have flags on, I reckon, 80% of the houses over there. They are so proud of their country. Yes, they've got a lot of issues over there. A lot of them on opposite sides of the fence on a lot of different subjects and topics over there, and probably in an unofficial civil war at the moment. But they still fly the flag, and I've got great respect for that. So I've got a flagpole outside, and it's got the Aussie flag on it. So, and I'll never take it down no matter what they say. But you're right, Richard. Let's get back to boxing. All right. Jack Tapu actually boxed before, so that's at least one thing he's over Igor. Yes, good point. Am I the only one worried about Tim's next fight? I'm a little worried, mate. This is I gave him $1. I'm a little worried. Yep. He's, but I think he'll come through. They've picked this fight or this guy, these fighting specifically, I reckon, to be tough. But I know he's got a lot of knockouts, but pretty average opposition. So I think Tim should win pretty comfortably. But yeah, I'll be worried about all Tim's fights, mate, until we see the Tim from about 3 years ago. I'll let you guys talk about the flags. What's that? Trumpy Black. How are you, bearded Lindo? I'm doing really well, thanks, mate. Really well. Really well. Don't you ever shave? No, I don't, Trumpy. I trim. And I just give a little bit of a trim there and underneath there. It's the best I can do, mate. I probably should, being so grey and does tend to bush a little bit. But, yeah, I got no one to impress anymore, mate. I've been married for 27 years now. So I don't have to impress anyone anymore. We get a little lazier as we get older, mate. And I'm not sure how old you are, but once you hit about 50, it's like, yeah, whatever. I'll just shave the head and keep the beard long. Who cares? The main thing is, as long as it's keeping in shape there, Trumpy, that's all I worry about. All right, Tony, is it true that Sky and Eddie are a couple? I watched Clapback Thursday, Golden Balls. That's an old one, I think, Tony. That's a really old one, the clapback that he did about Sky and Eddie. There's rumours, Tony. That's probably about it, mate. I'll move on from that one. Sam, how can you compare Jai and Tim? Jai's defended his belt 3 times. Tim didn't, in my eyes. Jai's the Aussie boxer at the moment, but I've always been a supporter of Tim. Yeah, no, it's a good point, Sam. And the thing is with Tim as well, he actually won a vacant belt and never actually beat a champion, where Jai beat one of the best cruiserweights in probably history, actually, in Marius Breedis, beat him twice. and has defended it 3. I thought it was maybe 4 times. Is it? Let's have a quick look. I think he's defended it 3 times just this year. Let's have a look. I reckon he might have defended it about 5 times. Let's have a look there, guys, before... I know time's getting away from us, but we've got nowhere to be, have we? Where are we? All right, so he beat Breedis in 22, I think it was. Yeah, 22. Beat Jordan Thompson. Now, the Zorro fight. Was that a non-title fight? Might have been, but either way. So he's beaten Jordan Thompson, Marius Breedis, Jack Massey, David Nyika, Claudio Squayo, and Hussein Shinkara. So he's actually defended it 6 times, Sam. So you're right. You can't compare them as far as what they've done. I don't think anyone's trying to do that. I think they're just comparing the heritage thing. But, yeah, no, you certainly can't compare Tim to Jai for sure, mate. All right, I'll let you guys continue to argue about the flags and heritage. I've had my say. What do you got there? You know what? Eddie frightened of Jai as a person. The truth is Eddie doesn't think Jai is that good. Maybe he's told him that in private. I don't know, mate. I just think I've got a feeling, Trumpy, that Jai thinks Eddie is a wanker. That's what I think. That's just, he's never said anything to me about it. I just think he thinks Eddie is a wanker. And Eddie, you're probably right. He's frightened of Jai as a person. For those who sub to Stan, I believe the Niyuki card is being broadcast this weekend. Thanks, Jules. That's awesome, mate. I'll keep a lookout for that. I've got 2 months that I had to subscribe to, so I'll definitely be watching that, mate. The undercard for Paul versus Joshua is really good. Yeah, I won't go through it now because we're on a bit short on time, but it is, especially with Shanika on the undercard for sure. How much longer is No Limits contract with Fox main event? I heard it was the end of this year, Eminem. I might be wrong. If not, it'll be definitely next year, I would think. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all changes now that DAZN has bought Foxtel and how that works. They might come in and go, enough of this monopoly bullshit. You're out. Still do stuff with No Limit, but they might go to someone like Tasman and say, right, you've got the best fighter in the country, current world champion. He's got to be on our platform. So we're going to give Tasman 3 shows a year. What are they? No Limit, maybe 3 or 4. These are pay-per-views I'm talking about. 3 or 4 a year, and we're cooking. And then they might give them a couple of non sort of pay-per-view worthy shows to put on. Then they might give the Will Tomlinson from Wildfighter a go. They might give Paul Nassari a go. They might give Dragonfire a go. I think they really need someone in charge of boxing, not just someone who's just throwing the keys at someone and said, yeah, you do it. Someone in the boxing role. And you would think with DAZN coming in, they would have someone for that role to say, all right, come on in, guys. I want to sort all this shit out. What are we doing? Because in the past, all they've had is an executive who just gave the keys to No Limit because they couldn't be bothered dealing with all the promoters around Australia. So they said, you guys look like you know what you're doing. You got a few big names. You got Tim Zhu. There's the keys. You can do your own thing. You can just have the monopoly. I would think if they get a boxing person involved with the DAZN Foxtel main event thing, they could then have someone to oversee it and distribute it properly. So we've got Jaya Pattaya on main event. We've got Tim Zhu and Nikita Zhu and all those on main event. And we might even have the Ace Boxings and the Wild Fighters and Dragon Fires that can build fighters up by giving them some shows because they can't build fighters at the moment. And I know one of those promoters I've spoken to recently was really pissed because one of their fighters who they've got behind and built up has just suddenly found himself on a No Limit card because they can't get on those big cards and the opportunities. So he has struggled to build fighters and they have struggled to build fighters because they can't give them the platform they're after. Let's face it, they all want to fight on main event or Foxtel, whatever. That's what they want to do. So if the current promoters haven't got the ability to do that, how are they supposed to grow the stable? Because all that happens is they invest in the fighters from the ground level up, and then the big fighters, the big promoters like No Limit or whoever, just swoop in and grab them and take away and just cash in on all the hard work the little promoters have done. So I would hope that that's the case there, Eminem, that they bring someone in that can actually sort it all out. What have we got there? Sam thinks Pitbull won. I agree. Yeah, I'm with you, Eminem. Still pissed at Yanabek. So disappointed. I'm with you there, mate. Yep, I'm with you there. That was from the 19... Okay, it's about his dad. What do we got? To the boxing Talking Boxing Crew, YouTube, Mundine, and Kahu Mahunga. Great fight. What a grouse, highly skilled contest. Never knew Senior was such a brilliant fighter. Massive respect. Yeah, and that's probably the one downside, Tony, of the success of Anthony Mundine. People have sort of forgotten about his dad or don't really know about his dad. Tony Mundine is an all-time great in Australian boxing. So don't just look at the Kahu Mahunga fight. Go back and watch all his fights. He fought Carlos Monzon for the world middleweight title back in the 70s and gave him a pretty good fight. So just a legend of Australian boxing. Why did Janabek pull out? He didn't pull out, Tony. He failed a drug test, mate. Sam, any more news on Parker? What's your thoughts? Yeah, I did see an interview the other day. Sam, he's contesting all charges and allegations, and I think it's currently in the works at the moment, Sam, but he's 100% positive he will clear his name. I hope he does. He's this type of guy I couldn't see doing that, snorting cocaine on the day of a fight. I just can't see it. You never know, but apparently the ball is rolling along, and he's very confident he'll clear his name. Has Jai's style changed in the last few fights? Feet more planted in this fight against Nieka, etc. When I think Jai, of him bouncing, maybe worried better opponents time him. I just think it comes down to the opponent, Jules. I think the fact that he doesn't fear the other guys, he doesn't respect the other guys, he's just been walking them down. I think if you see him come in with someone like a Ramirez, you'll see the guy that fought Breeders, I think. More on his toes, more angles, bit more movement. I think you'll see that type of fight. I just think he's just trying to walk him down now, which is why his style looks like it has changed. Mick Francis said he'd like to make Benny Mahoney versus Brock Jarvis. That'd be a pretty good fight, actually. Thoughts on Foster's domination of Fulton over the weekend, says Ado. I thought really impressed with Foster, Ado. I thought it was a dominant performance, and I think he's improved a lot. So either he's improved a lot or Fulton has declined a lot. So yeah, no, I thought very, very dominant performance from Foster, mate, and I think he's going to give some good fighters some problems down the track. What's that, Trumpy? You don't like No Limit? We know that. I believe why. No, it's not that I don't like him, Trumpy. I will give him credit where credit is due, and I'll also criticise them where it is due, just like every promoter that is out there at the moment. So, No Limit despise women's boxing. 2 huge fight cards coming up and not a single female fight. That is one criticism I will throw at No Limit M&M. They've got the ability to have almost a women's division, I suppose, a women's stable that they could build. All the best female fighters in Australia all fight with rival promoters. Why aren't they chasing Sky Nicholson and Shanika Johnson? I know Ebony Bridges is a bit different. She's over in England. I know Sky is as well. But if they were really serious about really getting behind Aussie boxing, and is it Trumpy? If you're critical, or me being critical of No Limit, there is one reason why I am critical. They should be behind women's boxing. It's not that hard. I'm sure Sky and Shanika, they all want to fight on the biggest platforms, especially in Australia, and they can't do it because they're not getting behind them. So that is one criticism for sure. What's that? Do you know the little Murray kid that fought on the Tim versus Mendoza card? Is that Nathaniel May I'm thinking of? I haven't really heard much of him lately. I'm not quite sure whether he's still around. Actually, he is. I know he's training, but I'm not sure when he's fighting again there, Trumpy. I wouldn't have a clue. I know he's with Gareth Williams up there on the Gold Coast, but I'm not sure when he's fighting next. Hearns, why does Terramona not fight guys like Brandon? Is it? Oh yeah, Grutch, isn't it? Brandon Grutch or Liam Taliva instead of fighters rated in the high 500s. Rival promoters, Hearns, that's what it comes down to, mate, unfortunately. Those two guys, one's with... Oh, no, actually, I think they're both with No Limit. Tasman Fighters and No Limit don't really see eye to eye. That's probably why, mate, but it's a good point. The fight before Isaac Harbin was a draw, and one of Australia's best trainers were in the corner, Lincoln Hudson. Do you think he's top 5 in Australia? I do. Great respect for Lincoln Hudson, Tony. A very, very good trainer. He's a loose cannon out there, Lincoln. He's a bit out there, but a very, very good trainer and knows what he's doing. So, yep. No, I top 5 around the mark. Yep, around the mark. I did do a top 10 on Aussie trainers a while back, but I can't remember where I had him, Tony. I think I had Anslo Hyder at number 1, but yeah, Lincoln Hudson, yeah, definitely around the mark, mate. Jules, because promoters have no stake in growing the sport, they're only interested in the show and making as much money as possible. Yeah, not all of them, Jules. I know that's sort of what it seems. I know a lot of them, like if you look through the different promoters, I would say Dragonfire aren't too stressed about being on Main Event or DAZN and that sort of stuff. They invest in Western Australian boxing, put a show on. Obviously, they make money out of the shows. That's what it's for. Of course, they want to make money. It's a business to these guys. But they actually build a lot of the fighters and are happy when they actually get palmed off onto the No Limits and Tasmans and those types of guys. So then you've got someone like Wildfighter. Will Tomlinson has really tried to build his stable build his stable up as well, but hasn't got a broadcasting app or whatever behind him. Yeah, they want stakes in the sport. Someone like Will Tomlinson, I know, wants to get his teeth into it, but just cannot get a go at it. And of course he wants to make as much money as possible, but he's also trying to build fighters. The Ellis's sort of do a similar thing in Melbourne. Paul Nassari gives a lot of fighters a go in New South Wales. So I think it's a bit unfair to say they have no stake in the sport and sort of don't care, but are only interested in making money. A lot of them, and I know Paul Nassari is like that. I know he does it for a business, but he's generally concerned about building good young fighters up and giving them opportunities. Sam LeBrun is another one. Some good promoters out there. So not all of them just want to make money. And I think, a lot of them want to help Australian boxing, and they do. So, all right. What are your thoughts on the Pitbull Cruz Lamont Roach fight? Yeah, I said earlier, mate, I think Pitbull just shaded it based on the knockdown, but the draw, I got no issues with that. And I've also got no issue if people say Roach won. Just a close fight. It wasn't a rip-off, or obviously it was a draw, so it wasn't a rip-off, but I just think whether you thought it was a draw, or you thought Pitbull won, or you thought Roach won, I think everyone is in the right, basically. That's how close the fight was. What's that? What's that there? What did you make of the bare knuckle Hardman and lighting? I'm not sure what that means, the lighting. I love the head splitter Trumpy. I think he's awesome. Isaac Hardman. I wish he was still in boxing, but I fully understand why he's gone to firstly or MMA and then the bare knuckle. Is it bare knuckle? No, it's the brawling, isn't it? It wasn't bare knuckle, it was a brawling. That sport is made for Isaac, and wish him all the best. Great guy. What's we got there? Nonino Donaire about to have another fight. Yeah, I saw that. Might even be for a belt. Yeah, he's got the interim belt, hasn't he, Andy? I think. After last fight with Jai, the more it's shared, the more he will grow. He's becoming the new Iron Mike. Yeah, a little bit that way. I saw a massive poster of Jai with a number of other different sportswear at the Sydney Broadway Shopping Centre over the weekend. Good stuff. Well, there you go. Maybe he's starting to finally get some recognition. Utopia. What's that? I think most of the time is the next Iron Mike. Yeah, I think so. Tony too. I'm going to go down and work my way back. Sorry guys. I think I've lost my way. Where are we? I've only got a few to go. Yep. Donaire's fighting for the WBA belt under 7-17 in Japan. There you go. What's it there? Do more muscles mean more power, or is it timing, balance, and speed? I ask, as Benavides so damn strong, but he looks a little doughy. Definitely got nothing to do with muscles there, Tony. It comes down to obviously the what they call it, the high repetition, lower weight type of exercise. A lot of them do. Comes with timing, balance, even the speed of the punches, all that sort of stuff. A lot goes into it. Some people just know how to punch. It's just simple as that. You could line a guy up that looks big and muscly and do a big punch, and then you'll get a small or smaller, skinnier type of guy who'll hit harder on one of those tester things because of the timing, balance, and all that sort of stuff. Range of the body to the way they deliver the punch, all that sort of stuff, mate. It's a science, I can tell you. But muscles definitely do not mean more power. J Beeb's great weekend of KOs. Frank Martin, yeah, no ties, both testified. Yeah, that was brutal, mate. What's that there? Nothing wrong with a straight shooter, and almost every Friday night you read out from Big J how great he is. I'm here to listen to you, not hear how good Big J is. Okay, well, I must admit, and if you are watching Big J, I'm sorry, I haven't watched your episodes for a while, but I hope the channel is growing there, mate. But you need to maybe engage with your fan base a little, well, your viewers a little bit. Andy, Jai unifying versus WBC winner is perfect. Having 2 to 4 majors might entice Erdo Benavides to go a winner to go undisputed by late 2026. God willing, yeah, I'm with you there, mate. Geez, I've got a few to get through there. What's that there, Hearns? Great idea having Big J on the show. Lots of people got butthurt when Big J told them Tim was a hype job more than 3 years ago. Yeah, good point. As I said, Hearns, earlier I said about Jai, I mean, I was all for going to heavyweight, but I must admit, yeah, just a little bit like this at the moment. I think he'll eventually get to heavyweight, but whether it's now, I said within the next 12 months, maybe it could be 2 to 3 years. We'll see. We'll see. There's Peter. How are you, Peter? Go to Pies. Just joking. What's that? Speaking of Flowers, what's the lowdown with Hardman? Did you call him? Mate, I didn't actually, mate. Someone actually sent me a message before I called him and said that it had to do with Dara Foley. Dara Foley was there with his Irish flag and for some reason walked out with it. And even stranger, in the ring, Isaac decided to put over his shoulders. I don't know why, but I think Isaac would be a proud Aussie. I don't know why he thought that was a good idea. But anyway. All right, D-Style, sorry. Nothing wrong with embracing your heritage, but your country is your home, period. You must embrace your homeland. There you go, D-Style. That's why I thought you'd see it. As I said, like I'm sure over there, I used Oscar De La Hoya as the example before, but as I said, I'm sure he's proud of his Mexican heritage, but he is a very, very proud American Mexican. He is. So that's my point about Tim or George or Jai. All right, Peter, bit worried about Jai's game plan, and I don't think he and his father are working hard enough on his defensive skills. Yeah, well, they might now, Peter. Had a bit of a scare on the weekend, so... yeah, thought Jason looked sensational. He did, mate. He did. He looked very, very impressive. What's your thoughts on Eddie... What's your opinion of the Eddie team handling of Liam Paro? I know he signed to defend his title. He should have come home to defend. Well, I think Liam parted ways with Eddie, I think, Trumpy, because Eddie wanted Liam to obviously fight overseas. He wasn't going to put on shows for him and wanted to put him in with all those top guys, one after the other at 140. And I think Liam wanted to come back to Australia and sort of be built and exposed to the Australian public. I think that's what it was. And No Limit, obviously, with the monopoly here, can put him on main event in a pay-per-view, get him a lot of exposure. And I think that's what he wanted to do, was to come back to Australia and almost relaunch. It was just hard fight after hard fight after hard fight over there. And as you've seen in Liam's last 2 fights, they've been sort of more career rebuilding, relaunching here. He's been able to do that against 2 really well-picked opponents, where Eddie, I think from what I heard, just wanted to put him straight back in, maybe a rematch with Matthias, and then put him in with, who did Matthias beat for the belts? Puello, those types of guys. And your career is going to be cut short really quick. A little bit like what happened to Tim. That's what sort of happened. They put him, obviously, in hindsight, well, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but they put him with these killers too quick and pretty much almost ruined his career. What's that? To play devil's advocate, should Costa not have been allowed to fly the Australian flag or only alongside a Russian flag? I think it's a good point. Maybe the Russians don't get too patriotic about the country and the flag, Jules. I'm not sure. I think Costa was more doing it as, I think, a little bit like Conor Wallace does it here with the Irish flag, about just paying homage to the country that's taken him in and embraced him as their own and gotten behind them and packed out stadiums, all that sort of stuff. That's what I thought that was. I don't think at any stage Costa was sort of being disrespectful to the Russian flag or anything like that. And these days, don't forget, you can't fly the Russian flag anyway, even if you wanted to. So, yeah, sorry, Ryan, that wasn't great wording, was it, to put your balls where your mouth is? That sounds pretty silly even saying it out loud, doesn't it? People need to put some respect on Shinkara, and if you watch his past fights, he was always going to put on a good fight. I agree there, mate. All right, a couple of comments to go. I think Jai is a very proud Australian too, from what I understand, and loves to represent the Aussie. So he does. He does. What's that there? C. Cambosis, also from Sydney. Another example. Jai just grew up outside of Sydney. Well, that's the thing, outlaw boxing. This thing about being a proud Queenslander now, I think the New South Welshman would be having a heart attack, wouldn't they? Because if he didn't know, I know he fights up on the Gold Coast all the time. Jai is actually a Sydney sider, a New South Welshman. Proud, what are they? A cockroach, are they? Yeah, they're the cockroaches, yeah. So that's not an insult if you're not from Australia, by the way. The New South Wales rugby team is called the Cockroaches, from what I gather. And the Cane Toads, are they? Are the Queenslanders, I think. But yeah, he's they announce him as being a proud Queenslander now. Just sacrilege. Where we got? A couple of comments to go. What's that, Adam? Let's say Jai wins all the cruiserweight belts. Would he be Australia's best boxer? No, he needs some legacy fights, Adam. That's what he needs. He hasn't really had any legacy fights yet. I mean, George Kambosos won all the belts, but doesn't make him Australia's best boxer. So no. For me, he needs to. Well, if he beats Badu Jack and then the winner of Zerto and Benavides, geez, that would be definitely in the mix as Australia's greatest fighter. And then if he goes to heavyweight and does anything at heavyweight, yep, definitely make a point. I did say a few months back, or mightn't have even been that long actually, that I think Jai has the potential of being Australia's best ever fighter. Yep, he does. But he needs those legacy fights. And just winning the belts is not going to be enough. He needs to beat the best opposition. I think that's going to do it now, guys. I'll get maybe a couple of there. Drunken Boxing. I was very impressed with young Max Money McIntyre. What do you think his ceiling is? Yeah, it's still hard to tell Drunken Boxing until he gets a more sort of challenging fight. The guy he fought was okay. But yeah, mate, he's got good skills. He can punch. He's very, very marketable as well. So yeah, no, his ceiling is world class for sure. But again, it's very hard to say they're going to do this or do that when they just simply haven't been tested yet. So, but on the surface, a very, very good young kid, and yeah, will be someone to watch going forward for sure. Drunken, you're proud cockroach myself. Yep, up the Blues. What's that? Lightning Luke, you know him. Tell Trumpy said, I think that's fight. Lightning Luke, one of the best in the business there, Trumpy. Went overseas with Luke back in 2018, I think it was. Spent a lot of time with him through these fighters and all that sort of stuff. You will not get a better guy in Australian boxing. He's a legend. Is Lightning Luke. Fennick is clearly Australia's best ever fighter at the moment, Peter. 100% agree. But in 5 years' time, we'll be saying the same thing. We will see. Rose is not in Fennick's league. I agree. Last one, Andy. I'm a toad. Bloody proud cane toad at that. Go the Mighty Maroons. Good stuff. Well, that's going to do it, guys. I think we'll call it a night after that. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everyone's comments there, but I've only got sort of 2 hours to get the job done. I've got some stuff to do and everything else. So, look, really appreciate everyone tuning in. As always, make sure you watch Walking Boxing every single morning. It's on sort of between sort of 10 and 11 o'clock. Struggling with a little bit of time to get some other stuff done that I want to do, but we'll see how we go with the end of the year with some of those fight cards anyway. So guys, thanks again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and we'll catch you next week on Talking Boxing.